Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello again, everybody. I am Pat Dooley, and this is another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate our great sponsors. Today, I do want to start the show by giving a birthday boy greeting to Tim Fiof. I knew I would screw it up. Tim Teofiluk, who is lives in Seattle, and maybe it's faux luck. Teofiluk. Maybe that's where it comes from. But anyway, I like the word tea, and I like the word luck in there. It's actually lack, but appreciate Chris. He listens to the show all the time. His wife Madison asked me to do this, and I said, yeah, great. He's from Seattle. He lives in Seattle, and he's a UF grad in journalism. Go journalism school at Florida. Yay, like I ever learned anything there. Okay, so, and Owen and Kennedy, his children, also want to wish him a happy birthday. I think it's his 40th. And I was thinking, maybe we can make this a cottage industry, where we start doing this for people. And what I would ask you, and this is what Madison is doing, is donating to Stop Children's Cancer. I got the shirt on today, which is the charity I support with our golf tournament and everything. So if you want to get birthday greetings, or because I'm not doing Cameo anymore, it's gone off the rail, and it's just weird for me. It just doesn't. I had some kind of a problem where I couldn't do it. I how many times I tried to access it. Anyway, so we'll do our own Cameo here. And all you have to do is contribute to Stop Children's Cancer. It's not for me. And yeah, we'll do some birthday greetings and, pats on the back and, hey, nice game, Joey in Little League. And who went 3 for 4 yesterday. I'll do that if you'll donate to Stop Children's Cancer. I'm very passionate about this organization, as you know from the golf tournament. Tom Hart will be on today. Can't wait to talk to him. He's one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite announcers. And you know how I don't like announcers. I turn them off all the time. And then, of course, Coach Spurrier on Monday. Greg Sankey is going to come on. I know he is. He had a knee injury on a ladder somehow, and he's doing rehab, and so his rehabs have been scheduled for Fridays. We almost had him on this Friday. Anyway, we'll get him on eventually, and obviously we'll have a lot to talk to him about. All right, it is time for the Hand Law starting lineup, and we appreciate Hand Law. We talked about this earlier. Chris Hand is, after this month, is stepping away. Not from his job, but stepping away from being a sponsor. He's been doing it for 2 years, and we cannot thank him enough. And we understand he's got something going. That's fine. He has been an unbelievable sponsor for 2 years. We've become friends. It's part of why. It's like why I used to go to the gym in the old days. I met so many people that are like friends of mine, sponsors of this show I met, actually. But I just wanted to, we only have a couple more shows with Chris, but I want to make sure everybody understands how much I appreciate him and how much I love that guy. The starting lineup is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Now, I said all those nice things about Chris Hand. I'm also, hey, we need another sponsor for the starting lineup. So anytime anybody wants to get involved, we're here for you. We got a couple of hooks in the water. Maybe one didn't work out, but we'll see. Anyway, number one, what a night last night. It was incredible. One bad game, but the other three were just unbelievable. It was like if the NCAA, which they wouldn't do, but if college basketball said, hey, do you want to know what our sport is? Let me show you. I'm going to show you these 3 games. Unbelievable, like comebacks, and we see FAU winning it, which I still can't believe they won that game. It just felt like Tennessee was just going to club them and just say, and they were physically beating them up, and they just started making shots. So that happened. The Marquise Noel for Kansas State. I mean, we're all watching that game for Keontae, and he was unbelievable. And the winning points were scored on a lob reverse dunk by Keontae Johnson. And all I could think of is Gator fans sitting there going, that could have been us. Well, it was you, but, things didn't work out. And look, I'm not going to ever criticize people for I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Making a decision they think is in the best interest of the school and the player. Now, Keontae Johnson was cleared by the doctors, but Florida and a lot of schools. Kansas State was like the last resort for Keontae Johnson because a lot of schools couldn't clear him. They just didn't feel comfortable. And I understand that. But if you're a Gator fan, you're going, yeah, we were good when we had Keontae, and then look what happened, So, but the story of the game was Marquise Noel. This little dude, 5'8", had 19 assists, which broke the NCAA all-time record. So all you need to do is get 20 assists to break that record now. And they weren't like, oh yeah, he threw the ball to a guy and he made a three. No, they were these rifle passes, and he was the guy who threw the pass on the lob dunk. It was an amazing game to watch. And then the last game was unbelievable as well. With Gonzaga looks like they're beaten in the first half. They just have no chance. They make this great rally, and next thing you know, they're up 10, and then the game's over. I'm going to go to bed, but the game's over. But what happens? UCLA comes back. They get a steal. They make a three. They get a tip in on a. It was just crazy. And next thing you know, they're in the lead, and then it comes down to, spoiler alert, if you tape this and you don't know, Gonzaga hitting a three right at the end. They ran what they call the Jay Wright play, which is all it is a guy dribbling down and kind of pressing the defense in, and then just turning and handing the ball to a shooter. And the shooter, Strother, hit it. He was pretty amazing, Julian Strother, in that game. In that game, Timmy had 36, and I'll never pronounce. Jaquez, is that the way you pronounce this? The former Kentucky player. Anyway, had 29. It was elite basketball. It really was. It was elite basketball. And you kind of looked at that game and you went, that's not the game Florida's been playing for the last few years. That's different. It was just amazing. Amazing night. That was number one on the hand-loss starting lineup. Number two, the SEC did not do well. Tennessee losing a game that they had to lead. And look, I hate to say this. I really do. I think I could have coached Tennessee to a win in that game. I really do. It was a clear way to play the game. And I know FAU speeds you up and throws the ball. They're a great passing team, and they're a good team. They won 32 games right now. And Dusty May's a great coach, but he's got the right group of guys, and sometimes you find lightning in a bottle, and we'll see what he parlays out of this. Could be Texas, could be Texas Tech, could be somewhere else like that. But the SEC itself, not good. I saw this stat. I didn't bother to look it up. I'm just going to assume it's right because it was on Twitter. But it wasn't verified. Rick Barnes has coached in more NCAA tournaments than Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo has 30 more wins than him. Now, what does that tell you? That's why they call him Regular Season Rick. I did also see this on Twitter, which made me laugh out loud. And I talked about this on the radio. I don't know if I talked about it here with Eric Musselman taking his shirt off after they beat Kansas. And I know how big a deal it was. Okay. But, you made it about yourself. And I'm not a fan of what he did, okay? I think, I would, if I was his AD, I'd go, don't do that again. Well, somebody said, I think it was my good friend Kevin Skarbinski, who wrote this. He said, one day you take your shirt off, the next day you get pantsed. And that's what happened to Arkansas. They got their pants pulled down, and it was bad. And look, that was the UConn team that we saw here in Gainesville. That team was awesome. You said to yourself, that's a Final Four team. Well, then they went through that big slump in the Big East. Now they're fine. It was just fun to watch. All right, let's get off the basketball tournament and go to football. And bad news for the Gators last night. Weird news. And I don't know much about it. By the time you watch or listen to this, you may know more. And so I'm just going to tell you where it is right now. I didn't even get to know how to properly pronounce this guy's name, and he's already gone. Micah Mazkua, I don't know, whatever it is. Kid from Baylor, 2-year starter at Baylor, transferred in, was going to be a big part of the transfer portal, was going to start at right guard, and all of a sudden he announces, I'm getting in the portal again. Now, I can't tell you why. I can't explain it. I can give you 100 possibilities. Could be didn't get the NIL deal again that he thought he was getting. It could be that somebody called him his agent and said, there's a better NIL deal out here. You might want to leave. It could be that he got yelled at and he didn't like it. And that's not what he's – I don't know. And I'm not – whatever he does is fine. Don't worry about it. I'm still trying to figure out how you can transfer in and then transfer again. He may have – if he's a grad, he can transfer without sitting out. But I think if he is not a grad – he's got to sit out. So why would you – anyway, I don't know. It's a little bit of a blow to a team that I still don't see how it's going to be a great team. But it certainly is a blow for Florida. And again, by the time you're listening to this, he might have already come back. Who knows? That's why I don't want to say anything negative, about anybody. That was number 3 on the hand loss starting lineup. Number 4, women's basketball. I tried to watch the game last night, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And I usually can find everything. Everything's it's on TV somewhere, okay? And you just got to find it. I couldn't find this one, but they won 73-63 over Clemson, which was it important? No, it's the NIT for women. It was against Amanda Butler. I like Amanda. I certainly was rooting for Florida to win, but I like Amanda very much. But it's kind of interesting that she's been able to get her team to play at a higher level in these 3 NIT games, and that's a good sign. It's a good sign. It's not a great sign because they're still in the NIT, and they're beating teams that are pretty average, which is what they were okay at during the regular season. What Florida's got to get to is where they beat good teams, and they really aren't there. Now, the team they play next, they play Bowling Green on Monday at 6 o'clock, and Bowling Green's won 30 games. Now, I don't know who Bowling Green's played, and I don't know anything about their team, and I'll leave it at that. But they've at least won 30 games, and winning means something. And then finally, number 5, Todd Golden gave his State of the Union address yesterday for the media boys, and Florida is now up to 5 guys in the portal. Not one of them do I say, oh, no. No, I go, see ya. They weren't that good. I'm not holding anything against them. I'm not trying to be negative, but they're not big losses, but they're down to 5 players because you also have the guys who are seniors, Myron Jones, Lofton, and Castleton. So they got 5 guys, and it's a decent little core, but they're going to have to build it through a little bit through recruiting, but a lot through the transfer portal. It was interesting. In fact, this kid from Walter Clayton from Iona is the latest to visit. Iona, when Pitino left, their 2 best players got in the portal. We'll see what they do there. Again, we have no idea what we're going to see next year. I want to get to a point where Florida can start have a situation where it's mostly about recruiting and you add with the portal. But they're not there, obviously, because what Todd Golden's dealing with. He also talked a lot about how it seemed to be a struggle for him to move all the way across country, move his family, hire a staff. The way he talked about it yesterday, it seemed like it was a little much for him, and he struggled with it. But I never thought he did a poor job of coaching. I just didn't think he got good players. If I have one criticism of Todd, it would be you didn't evaluate guys well. But again, this goes back to NIL. Maybe they didn't have the money to get a lot of guys in NIL that they wanted. They said, well, I can get $1 million here, but you're offering me $200,000? No, I'm going here. I don't know. There's a lot of things you will never know about a lot of things. All right, so happy birthday to Chris, first of all. Appreciate Madison and Chris for listening. They say it's on in their house all the time. And we'll come back. Tom Hart is going to join us. I can't wait to talk to him. He's a lot of fun. You are listening to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more, including yours truly. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Trial membership until April 11th only, featuring Billy Napier and Tommy Townsend. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org. That's membership@quarterbackclub.org, or call me, and I'll let you get to the right people. All right, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We go to our Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line to bring in one of the greats, one of my favorite people, the only guy I won't turn off when he's doing a game and mute it, Tom Hart from the SEC Network and ESPN. And he's busy. He's everywhere. He took time out to be with us. In fact, he was in Athens last night. And now he's going. Where are you going with XFL? You're going to XFL game next, right?
Yeah. I'm headed to Arlington for the Fighting Bob Stoops,
Right.
taking on the Fighting Hines Wards, the San Antonio Brahmas for their second straight meeting.
Well, tell Bobby that I said hello. I just saw him here. He was here for Spurrier. They had a presentation of a award they do. They give a Coach of the Year, first year Coach of the Year, and they give a Legacy Award. And Bobby Stoops got it, so he was here. It was really cool to see him again. I hope you're doing well. I mean, I know you're busy. I mean, were you in Tally on Tuesday, or did you do that from home?
No, I did that from home. A lot of our college baseball going forward this year, then going forward, is going to be from our home studios, which is unfortunate because I think you know me. Like, I love being on site. I love the feeling that you get from being in the building, the emotion that you feel for a live event. If I never wanted to be on site, I could have been an anchor sitting behind the desk this whole time. But you lose that when you're sitting at home and it's two-dimensional and you're listening to a crowd only through your headset. But still lucky to be able to cover all these games. Florida's comeback Tuesday was really good. That's a really good team that Sully's got, an amazing pitching staff. And then I was home last night doing Auburn in Georgia from my basement, even though the game wasn't that far away. But hey, that's where we are these days with technology.
Yeah, I mean, how much of it is still COVID and how much of it is just, hey, here's a way we can save money because we went through COVID. We now know what we can do, and it still works.
Bingo. As a matter of fact, during the COVID year, there were a few college football broadcast crews that traveled for ESPN. We weren't one of them, our Saturday night crew, but Cole Kublik traveled doing sidelines. And it must have been about week 3, he ran into another sideline reporter in an airport. And she said, I watched your all's game. She goes, let me give you some advice. You guys are too good remote. And he says, what do you mean? She goes, it's seamless. You can't tell you're not at the game. And if you guys keep doing such a good job, they're going to keep you at home. They're going to keep your guys at home for the rest of the time. And she must have had a crystal ball. She saw the writing on the wall. They just saved so much money. And quite frankly, shouldn't say this part out loud, but I don't know that the folks that handle the budgets have the same passion for the sports that we do, especially a sport that, let's be honest, college baseball is still a niche sport, even though there's great growth there.
Absolutely.
And the audiences late in the year are amazing. The regular season audiences just aren't on par with men's and women's basketball and obviously with football. So we're lucky the games are on the air. They find a way to do it and save a ton of money. And the cost for us is we don't get to be on site, but at least we still get to do the games.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've had to deal with this also, even at the very end of COVID, when I was still working at the Gainesville Sun, where, God, I wish I could be there. I wish I could see the game. But when I'm done, I can have a second game on, first of all, on the TV. Yeah. And when I'm done, I turn it off and write my story and go ask my wife what's for dinner, So there is a plus to it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting in the same spot right now that I did the game from last night, and I've got a big TV in the distance, and I was able to watch the basketball games while I'm calling the baseball game. As soon as my baseball game is over, I go pour a drink. I sit down on the couch. I watch the incredible back and forth that Gonzaga and UCLA had. Was able to watch the finish of the game prior to that, and you can consume a lot more. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And the benefit of not getting, patted down and touched in weird places by the TSA folks, there's a benefit to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know that you do miss I was talking to somebody about this on our radio show the other day. The crowd noise for an NCAA tournament game is so different from any crowd noise you ever hear for anything else.
Yeah.
And the crowd noise for a comeback is different. It's not how loud it is, it's how different it is. And that's the thing that you can't really, the mics are capturing it, but, you sitting at home, you don't feel it, as much. And I know that that's a struggle for you. I know it's hard for you because you love being there.
Well, it's not just the crowd noise. You're right. The sound is different, but it's all the context clues, right? When a comeback starts to happen and the team in the lead starts to get tight, as a broadcaster, you can look at their bench and you can see the head coach and the assistants and all the guys that you can see that tightness kind of overwhelm a team that is watching their lead melt away. And you see the bravado start to build in the team that's mounting the comeback. And those emotions are a roller coaster throughout an entire game. And once the game as intense as, like we saw last night, a Sweet 16 game or an Elite 8 game or even a first-round tournament or a conference tournament game where other people in the building start to feel that, even if they don't have a rooting interest. That's what I've always loved about conference basketball tournaments. There's people there that are watching two teams that they generally dislike, but then they find a rooting interest in one of those two, and the entire building starts to get behind that underdog. God, that's a really cool feeling that's unique to college basketball in my mind.
Yeah, I said this, I think last week on the podcast. I don't miss much about being in the newspaper business, but I miss that. I miss going to those basketball tournaments, especially the NCAAs. And it's just, it's kind of hard to put into words what it means. But, you get, because you do all the sports and you get to watch sports at an incredibly high level. I mean, Florida, the SEC's got the national champion in football. They may have the national champion in basketball, and it feels like somebody in this baseball league is going to win it. We just don't know which team.
Yeah, and from a baseball perspective, just because that's the one you ended on, last week I got to watch, now granted from my basement, but I got to watch Brandon Sproat start on Thursday and Skeens for LSU start on Friday. And Sproat's complete game, hour and 50-minute masterpiece was one like I haven't seen in a very long time. And then the Skeens kid comes up for LSU. And, Pat, he might be the best pitcher the SEC has ever seen. I mean, If he keeps up what he's doing, he may be college baseball's best pitcher ever. I know that there are elite pitchers that have come out of college baseball really over the last, 60, 70 years. But he looks like Steven Strasburg. He looks untouchable. And you put all of that together, and I've been kind of kicking this around. You go back to 17 and 18, I think it was, when Singer and Friedo were in Gainesville and Lang was in LSU, and there were some other great pitchers in the league, a couple other first-rounders. That was a pretty good back-to-back class. I think this year and next year, if it stays the way it is, it could be the best two classes we've seen in the SEC from a pitching standpoint, and that's really saying something. And those guys you just mentioned. So you get to see these guys. I get to see these guys, up close and personal. I'm using air quotes. Or when I get to games, these are dudes who are going to be frontline starters in the big leagues soon. Like 3-4 years away. Yeah, you make a great point. And then obviously all the talent we see, the NFL talent we see on Saturdays, and all the guys that I see a few times a week during basketball season too.
It's probably fun for you like it is for me. We watch SEC football all year and watch pretty much every game. You have to watch a lot of it. I watch it just because I'm a nut. But when the NFL people come in, they're trying to tell you what we don't know about football, and I'm like, no. I'm sorry. I kind of have a good idea what's going to happen here. And my thing has been, I would draft C.J. Stroud first, and I would draft Bryce Young second, and I would draft Will Anderson third. That's the way I would go. I don't think Will Levis is that good. And I know what Anthony Richardson is because I don't know what he is. And that would make me nervous about that. But it is fun to kind of hear what other people think, what we pretty much already know.
Yeah, we're the students that have been in class for the entire semester. They're the guy that shows up after skipping every class, crams for the final, and thinks that they have all the answers, whether they do or not. I always find it fascinating, and I try not to look at this from a pessimistic viewpoint. But remember a couple years ago when the draft was in Nashville, there was 500,000 people that showed up in Nashville for the NFL draft. Like, that's amazing. It's such a huge event now. And then in Vegas, another huge event. In Kansas City, it's going to be monstrous. I wish these people could just take a step back and realize that, yes, the draft is a lot of fun. And I know you have passion for your team, whether that's the Jets or the Packers or the Niners. But you can watch all these dudes play on Saturday, and it's a great show, and you can get in on the front end. But there's so many fans, football fans, that are only NFL fans. And I can't grasp that. Maybe it's because I grew up in a college town, and I was both college and pro as a fan from an early age. But I just can't grasp being NFL only when the draft means so much. Like,
right.
Watch these dudes. You know what? Watch Bryce Young in September, not just in the playoffs. Watch Will Anderson in September, in October, and have an appreciation for what this dude is instead of cramming, 3 weeks before the draft or only watching him in the playoff.
I need to ask you this because I did this thing for Gators Wire, which I write for, about the 12 reasons Florida's mired in mediocrity right now in football and basketball. And I'm curious why you think. I mean, Florida had losing seasons in football and basketball for the first time since 1979. I have a pretty good idea, but I can tell you I could come up with 12 more reasons why they haven't been able to get it done. Some of it's luck, some of it's bad decisions, some of it's bad hires. There's a lot of reasons there, but you've been around it. Why do you think Florida has had a hard time getting it going again?
Well, I think what's interesting from an outsider's point of view is that these decisions that you're talking about and that you're alluding to, these aren't decisions that happened yesterday that impact the team today. I feel like, especially, like, for example, from a facilities perspective, these are decisions that go back a quarter century, right? I mean, These are decisions that go back to the mid-'90s when the facilities should have kept up with the Joneses, but championships were coming in anyway. Heismans were being won anyway, so why bother? Famously, right? If you can win with this, then why do you need something new? Well, it's because everybody else is out there building Taj Mahals, and you're gonna fall behind. And I think that's the case. So I think that's foundationally a big part of it. And then that begets, well, if Billy Donovan makes it look easy, well, the next guy should have no problem either. Oh man, it's a lot of work that goes into that. The same thing with Spurrier. I mean, those are two of the all-time great coaches in college sports history that happen to be on campus. And then, gosh, I mean, how many books have you written on this? And why haven't you written 10 more? Because the urban era really, for all the highs that it accomplished, I think from the very beginning, kind of, toxic would be too strong a word, but James Bates tells this great story about how he was brought in to talk to that recruiting class early on, and Urban set him up and he said, get up there, talk about what your guys mean to you. And he said, my class was the best class in Florida history, and you guys could maybe do this. And the guy in the back was snickering, and Bates stopped and he goes, hey man, how about a little respect? Like, my class won a national championship. I'm up here telling you what it means. And he goes, yo man, coach said that your class doesn't mean nothing. And it was all a setup. He didn't say nothing, but it was all a setup to prove like, hey, we're better than anybody who's ever come through here. And I think that toxicity started to leak through. And if you're that selfish and if like we're the only thing that matters, no appreciation for where you've been, then where you're going and what was left, a smoldering pile by the time it got out of there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's been like I thought Will Muschamp was a good hire. It didn't work out, and it was clear it wasn't going to work out. The trouble was when Will Muschamp was fired, there was no vision towards who the next coach was be. They ended up with a guy who won 2 straight Eastern Division championships just to show you can do it, and then they had to fire him because he was yelling at everybody that he was around, and then Dan. To me, with Dan, Strickland should have known that eventually Dan would just go off the rails. That's the way he had always been. But anyway, it's interesting stuff.
The McElwain thing is really interesting because that last year, I forget the name of the starting middle linebacker. He was like a 3 or 4 year starter. They went into Missouri. and they got beat at like a noon game on a cold day in early November against Missouri. And we came back the next year early in the season, and we're meeting with them before one of the early games. And I said, hey, man, looking back at like that Missouri game seemed to be kind of the turning point. I think McElwain had just been fired or was on his way out. And he goes, yeah, we quit. We laid down. We quit. We quit in the middle. And I appreciated his honesty, and he was only reinforcing or admitting what a lot of people had seen. But I'd never heard anybody say that out loud before about himself and his teammates. And I thought, man, it was way worse than anybody on the outside thought it was.
All right, Tom, we have to get to Yes, No Way, or Maybe, which is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you go to Big Mills Cheesesteaks, mention the Dooley Noted podcast, you get free French fries with your order. Number one, our Braves made all the right decisions this offseason.
No. No,
I was afraid you were that was gonna be the answer.
No, I can think of some very specific decisions that I would have handled differently. But really, the Dansby decision, that was a mistake that was made a year before he left, or this time last year. And talking with the guys in the agency that represent Dansby, like they had a chance to get him not at a discount, but at a very fair and friendly price. They decided to play it out. And Dansby's catching a lot of grief right now for saying Chicago's, the true or a true sports town. And I think Dansby's got a point. I mean, what they're now building at Wrigley is different. And now some of these injuries that are popping up late in spring training are further proof that they're going to be behind the eight ball, at least to start the season.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that, by the way.
Sorry.
I was hoping you would say something nice. Number two on Yes, No, Where, Maybe, baseball is your favorite sport to cover.
Yes. Yeah, it's my favorite sport to call for sure. It can be a grind when you're in it every day, as opposed to like football is a build-up. College football, you get all week to work towards a broadcast and get with your guys and make plans and predict what's going to happen. But I just like the pace and the personality of baseball, and I get to work with I work with great people in every sport I do. But the drama build-up in baseball is different than any other sport, because if you do it right, you can see it coming from a mile away, especially if you get a good game. And there's nothing like building and storytelling in a baseball game that you just don't have time for in the other sports.
Excuse me. Finally, number three.
That got you choked up. You're so emotional.
I did. Either that or I drifted off. It's one of those.
Which also happens in baseball.
Number three on Yes, No, Where, or Maybe. You were at both these games. You covered both these games. The scene in Knoxville when they littered the field was worse than the scene in Gainesville where the Kentucky player got tangled up with some of the guys at courtside. I know that they were both not good looks for anybody.
The Tennessee scene was 100 times worse because they had a chance to address it early on, and they didn't do anything, and they let it build into this mob scene. I thought it was embarrassing for the entire Tennessee fan base. The Florida thing, I was bothered by personally because, I don't know, but it was three or four guys, right? Yeah. And they're being knuckleheads, and I thought they should have been, tossed immediately. I just don't think there's any room for fans to insert themselves in the game, to be on the playing court. And you grab a player, that's inherently wrong. But however many students there were, 10,000 of them that were throwing trash on the field in a game that your team still had a chance to win.
Exactly.
By the way, they still had a chance to win. But that was also a toxic environment. We went to have lunch at like noon in Knoxville, and the drinking and the partying was already at a high level. And we're on the field with Lane before the game, when he walked on right before the game. I mean, during warmups. Let me be clear about that. And he came out, and we're standing at midfield, and the entire student section was chanting F Lane Kiffin. And he walks out and he goes, dude, they were all in third grade when I was here. Why are they so mad at me? But he's a lightning rod, and it made for a cool environment, I guess, if that's what you're into. It was certainly something.
Yeah, I was not proud of the conference then, but I am proud of you for doing such a great job. You do such great work, and we always love, like I said, you're the one guy. There's not a lot of guys. I'll turn down guys, and I'm not going to mention names. I'll just go,
You and I are the
this
same.
game.
Everybody does. Everybody, right? Yeah. No, that's
But
really nice of you to say. I appreciate it.
Always keep the volume up when Tom Hart's doing the game. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Kind of you. Happy to be with you. Thanks, man.
All right, Tom Hart, the great Tom Hart from ESPN and SEC Network. We got to take a break. We'll come back with all our fun stuff, this, that, and the other. Leonardo's. We got to pull a winner today, so that'll be fun. And we got a lot of other stuff to get to here on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more, including yours truly. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Trial membership until April 11th only, featuring Billy Napier and Tommy Townsend. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org. That's membership@quarterbackclub.org, or call me, and I'll let you get to the right people. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate all our great sponsors. We appreciate Tom Hart for coming on today. Coach Spurrier will be on Monday. Let us get to our this, that, and the other, which, of course, brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, where I actually was on Wednesday, I guess that was. Yeah, Wednesday with another of our sponsors, Adam's Rib Co. Adam Brewer, his name's not Adam's Rib Co., but we had a great lunch, and we talked about the golf tournament and everything, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. Also brought to you by Ironwood, where the golf tournament will be, and by our great friends at Dar and Shack Out. We appreciate all of our great sponsors for helping us out. This, that, and the other. Here we go. I was so excited. I was fired up about the NCAA tournament last night, the Sweet 16, but I kept telling myself, well, it's not. It's always, there's a lot of letdowns in these games. Robbie kind of got me fired up. We did radio together, and afterwards he goes, I can't wait. I go, yeah, me either. So I went home, fired up. My wife made this wonderful dinner, and I'm like, cool. And I'm ready to watch basketball. And then I go, nothing that is that nothing really matters till the second half, unless you were Arkansas last night. But even Arkansas, you said, well, you can come back. The one thing I've learned about college basketball, that especially now, it seems more so now, is that if you're within 10 at halftime, you got a good chance. And in some cases, like Gonzaga, within 13. But the other is I wanted to go to bed. I was tired. I knew I had a lot to do today. I need to go to bed. And then I'm like, Pat, I literally almost did one of this. I didn't do it physically, but I did it figuratively. And I said, you know what? Come on, man. Let's go. This is what you live for. It's a Sweet 16. These two games are coming down to the wire. Stayed up till the last minute. Then I couldn't go to sleep because I was thinking about the games. But anyway, that was the other. I loved it. It was a great night. This, that, and the other. All right, let us get to our Leonardo's at Quick Picks poll. We do this at home. My wife does it with me in the mornings when we do a poll, because we were getting little pieces of paper all around here, and we were told, hey, clean up after yourself. And I don't want to do that, so I'd rather just do it at home. And I have the winner is John Julian. He did pick Gonzaga, was his, and I think he was already qualified, but John Julian was the name we pulled out of the hat. So John, just contact me, and I will get you a book, one of my signed books, or not signed if you want it, and a $25 gift certificate at Leonardo's. In fact, I need to go by Kyle's. Oh, I'm going to have to eat a Parmesan chicken sandwich. I guess I'll have to do that and have a cold one. But I need to go by there and get some more, because we keep this going. We love this. We love the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Let's get to the Hesser and Kipke three things. And, of course, the great folks at Hesser and Kipke are a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. I think I just spit. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their more than 55 five-star reviews. Or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Number one, I did watch golf yesterday too, and that was so much fun. I love this match play. And if you watched, and many of you did not, but you may have heard about it, the last hole, McIlroy is one up, and he drives the green. And, I mean, he hits it. It was one of the most amazing shots. It was almost a hole-in-one on a par four. And it was just you saw it and you just went, you're so good. He's my favorite golfer too. And if you haven't seen it, if you saw it live, it's like everything. You can watch a million highlights and they're all great, but when you see something when it's actually happening, it's special. Number two, a lot of talking about and again, I watched the WBC. I watched the last inning is all I watched. I didn't really care about it. Japan wins, and good for them. And Ohtani is the best player in baseball. There's no doubt about it. And there were injuries during it. Some guys got hurt and everything. But there were also, where there are injuries? In spring training. Guys tore ACLs and stuff. Your injuries are going to happen. I wouldn't worry about guys getting hurt. You worry about them getting hurt, but where they get hurt really is of no meaning. And I think the WBC certainly got baseball geeks excited. Me, not so much. I wasn't that into it, but people that really love the baseball, and baseball is like fifth on my list. I go college football, college basketball, NFL, golf, Major League Baseball. That's my list right there. But it was good. Number three, finally, we have what we will call the Ken Francis memo. What is that? Well, Ken Francis supposedly is representing Lamar Jackson, And but he's saying, and now they're saying not really. But he's not a licensed agent, and you're not allowed to negotiate with a team. So they can, the teams, they sent out a memo. Any teams interested in Lamar Jackson can only talk to Lamar Jackson. He has no agent, which is them kind of saying, hey, we're still in charge of this thing. This is the weirdest thing, and Lamar seems to be kind of a weird dude too. I don't understand any of it. I'm not going to worry about it. It's over for me. But I always remember that, and this is Will Muschamp told people, not me personally, but he told people that Lamar Jackson was coming to Florida if he had another year. And it's easy to say. Doesn't necessarily mean it was true, but could have been a Gator. Then we'd be talking about how weird he is as a Gator. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to our Ben Eige, Odell Realty games of the weekend. Baseball. And again, a lot of this is you have to watch it on ESPN Plus. I know that I'll get to softball in a minute, but 7:30 tonight, 2:30 and 2:30 on Saturday and Sunday against Ole Miss. Big series there. Softball plays at 7, 9, and 1 at Arkansas. The 9 o'clock game is on ESPN2 if you want to watch that. Most of you, not I don't want to say most of you, but a lot of you listen to this show on Saturday morning, so you already know this, but the basketball games are over, but I'm just going to give them to you. Basketball, the game, San Diego State, Alabama is the 6:30 game. That's on TBS. Miami is playing Houston at 7:15 on CBS. The 9 o'clock game, Princeton-Creighton on TBS, and the 9:45 game, Xavier, Texas on CBS. I have nothing to do tomorrow. I'm going to stay. I know I'm going to stay after these games, and I hope they're as good. They probably won't be anywhere near as good as they were last night. They were incredible. Let us get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. I had a lot of people to choose from. We talked about women's basketball, but I went with Philip Abner. Philip Abner's a guy, when he comes in, I always go, oh, God, please throw strikes. It sometimes frustrates me, but he's really pitching pretty well this year. And that game he pitched against FSU, where he came in relief, 2 1/3 scoreless. They were up 5-1. He kept them there, and they allowed the Gator bats. That's what you've got to – if they can do that this year, if they can have guys who come in and hold things at bay, even if they get behind, even if their starters let them down. In this case, it was a couple of guys. If they can hold them, those bats will – now, you're not going to win every game, as we know, but those bats are really going to eventually come through, and you're going to win the game. It's a very simple process, but you got to have middle relief. Maybe Abner's going to be the answer, so I'm giving him the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And I know if he's out in Oxford right now, he's probably saying to himself, hey, I got the Gator of the Week. All right, finally, Pat Dooley's Storytime, brought to you by our good friends at Eastlake Pediatrics, Mike Jordan, and sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational, one of the many sponsors that we have, and great people. The helmet count is up to like 25, I think. It's ridiculous. We got more helmets than Spurrier has on the wall, I think, now. But I think we're getting one from them too. All right, so I was just thinking about something, and it just came to me. The 2 times that somebody didn't question what I wrote, because I know there have been people that are questioning this thing I did for Gators Wire about the 12 reasons, because a lot of people liked it, but a lot of people will say you should have blamed Foley and Strickland more. Well, there's a little bit of blame in there, but I don't think somebody was coaching and playing on those teams. That to me is the problem. And I know there's people that'll argue it the other way, but that's fine. But I was thinking about the only 2 times somebody questioned what I wrote about. Not what I wrote, but what I wrote about. One was Steve Spurrier, and I'll bring this up with him on Monday, and I want to say it was 99. Yeah, 99. I'm at SEC Media Days. Florida's been in and out and everything. It's the last day. I've got to write about something, so I write about Freddie Millens, who was a great player at Alabama. Versatile guy. I had to come up with something. You had to write a column. Spurrier calls me the next morning. says, why are you writing about Freddie Mills? We don't even play them. Now, they ended up playing him in the SEC championship game. But he's like, why would you even write about that? And I'm like, well, I had to write about something, Coach. And then he proceeds to tell me about guys who didn't make the 12-mile run or 12-minute run. And that was the story. That became the story of the day. And he was setting me up for that. He didn't want to call me and go, hey, here's the guys who didn't make it. David Jorgensen, whoever it was. But it's just funny that he calls. Why would you write that? I got to write something. I just can't hang around here. The other one was Jeremy Foley. I was at the Combine in the Tebow Combine. So that would have been what? 2010 Combine. So after the 2009 season, there were 10 Gators there. Tebow was one of them. I was there. I did a story on Nyan Boateng, who was a Gator and left and was at the Combine. He'd done well enough at Cal, I think it was. And Linville Joseph, who played a long time in the NFL, who was coming to Florida, but there was a problem with his grades. There was a problem with some transcripts or something. He ended up going to East Carolina, did really well, played in the NFL for a long time. I thought it was a good story. I really did. I had to find something. Jeremy Foley called me. Why aren't you writing about the Gators? There were no Gators in the room that day. I had to write about something. These were ex-Gators. Only 2 times anybody ever questioned what I wrote. A lot of times people question what I wrote, but not about what I wrote about. There you go. Did I say that right? I don't know. Here's what I know. Jared did a great job producing. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show today. Happy birthday to Chris. And we will be back with another show on Monday. Until then, I'm Pat Dooley. I'm deep way back, and I am out of here.